spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea.
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will begin with the agenda for the Douglas County Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Boyle. Here. Commissioner Kavanaugh. Here. Commissioner Duda. Commissioner Kraft. Here. Commissioner Morgan. Commissioner Rogers. Madam Chair.
Here. I would ask for a motion to go into executive session for litigation purposes. Please vote.
For spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty, above the fruited plain. sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Please vote. Item A, approval of the minutes of Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, January 26, 27th, 2015, and B, call for a meeting and set Tuesday, February 10th, 2015 as a date for hearing on certified assessment corrections reflecting the addition of omitted property to the tax rolls or increased value on property. Any questions or comments? Please vote. Citizen comments. Is there anyone in the chamber wishing to speak to the Board of Equalization about an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to resolutions. Resolutions, let's divide these. D through H are confessment of judgments. Is there a motion on any of these? Seeing no motion, Mr. Bowman?
I sent an email. I saw the agenda late in the day on Friday and sent an email to Sharon Burke that the very first one, Monty Bowman with Abras, D was the incorrect case number, incorrect address. They had 1806 Benton Street. It was supposed to be 6001 Maple Street, 14C228. So D is the one that we are not confessing judgment on because it's not the one that was supposed to be on here. The other four are correct.
Okay, thank you.
We won't be doing the presentation either. That's being done informal, so we can save you a lot of time today.
All right.
Will they be making a motion to make sure they get the correct one for next week? The affidavit for the other address that it's supposed to be? The ones that you passed on, the 5, to have them do the affidavits, they just got one of them incorrect. It's the very first one.
Okay. And you're in agreement with all of these?
Yes, except D.
Except what?
D, the very
it's
first
the
one.
Wrong one.
It's the wrong address, wrong case number.
Okay. Mr. Goodwillie?
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Goodwillie, Douglas County Assessor's Office. The only thing I would really address you to, the Commission certainly has the ability to choose whether or not to accept the referee's recommendations on these parcels. And incidentally, Mr. Bowman is correct about replacing the resolution for D with, was it 6001 Maple?
That's correct.
All right. Because we are already in agreement with the referee's recommendation on the 1806 Vinton Street property.
But that's not, I'm not agreeing with that one. That wasn't in part of our list.
That
All right.
isn't even one that should be on here.
No.
Okay. The only thing I would suggest to you is you should have a memorandum that our office prepared that deals with the reasons we have for disagreeing with the referee's recommendations for these parcels. And before you decide whether or not you wish to agree to confess judgment on these, that you take a look at those and take those into account.
Okay. Okay, with that being said, again, I just want to clarify, the first one on Maple is one that you and the assessors agree on?
No.
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 None of these are in agreement with the assessor?
The only one I believe I thought they were in agreement with was it was 3702.
No.
No, which one was it?
Mike Goodwillie,
It was
Douglas,
6001
Douglas
Maple.
County, no, it wasn't. Mike Goodwillie, Douglas County Assessor's Office. Initially, there are 21 of these parcels. The memo that you've been provided breaks them down 3 ways. Referee recommends change in value, and the Assessor's Office agrees. That was the 1806 Vinton parcel. Then there were 14 of them where the referee recommended no change in value from what the assessor had on, and there's a brief synopsis for all of those summarizing the referee's findings. And then finally, the last category, where there were 6 parcels, where either the referee recommended a change or made no recommendation, and the assessor's office either disagreed with the change the referee recommended or was standing firm behind its value. And those parcels were the Hawks Hollow, 6001 Maple Street, Midwest Land Company, 3302 South 72nd Street, that was the Baymont Inn parcel. 72nd Street Hospitality, that was Doubletree, 3702 South 72nd Street. I don't think that Century Omaha Land is on this particular list because the referee had no real recommendation, but that was the Ramada at 3321 South 72nd Street. Johnson Brothers Screen Printing, 4657 Leavenworth, and Mudra Construction, 2419 North 84th. Those were the ones where either the referee made no recommendation or our office was in disagreement with that recommendation. Of the other parcels, certainly we're willing to stipulate on the Vinton Street property to what the referee recommended. The other ones, the referee recommended no change from the assessed value.
Okay.
Now, I know Mr. Bowman has some issues with those, but those aren't on the agenda for today.
Right, and I just want to be clear that we don't have to make any motion about asking you to write up the affidavit on the one that you agree on. You're already doing that, right?
I don't know if we're doing it, but we certainly will.
Okay, all right.
Because these are all going to Turk, and
Right.
then we're going to continue the other. All of the other 21 are all continuing through Turk until we continue negotiations.
Right, okay. All right, thank you.
I know that the memorandum was put in, but there was a couple of notes on the memorandum that we couldn't quite, I mean, we really didn't get a chance to respond to it. Some of the notes, they make a mention a couple of times that they were never given the evidence that was presented to the referees. We are already gone through this since February and July. How many times we reproduced it for them? More than once. So there were a couple of things by the assessor's office that, as far as their answer to the memorandum, I would say that if anybody on the board had questions, we'd provide whatever it is they need to rebut those other arguments.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
All right.
All right, with that, the other 2 resolutions, I and J, is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve I and J. Second.
Any questions or comments? Please vote. And does that include adjournment since we're not having the presentation? We will move to the agenda for the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Roll call, please. Here, item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held January 27, 2015, and item B, approval of claims submitted for payment processed through Tuesday, February 3, 2015.
I move for approval.
Any questions or comments? Please vote. Next is the consent agenda, items A through L, with one minor change, and that is item C. That will be laid over until March 3rd. So do I have a motion to approve with that change? Yes? Oh, and item G's been struck. Thank you.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions or comments? Please vote. Next is a recognition of the county employee Bernard Momboquet retiring from the Douglas County Attorney's Office after 16 years of service. And with us today is our
Possibly down.
Oh, that's fine.
He's up working. He's up working.
Do you want to talk to us about anything, Doc?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Don Klein, Douglas County Attorney. It's good to see you all here this morning. And Bernie's on his way down, so I think he should be here in a second.
That's fine.
But I don't want to start until he gets here.
Yeah, yeah.
While you're here, Don.
I just want to publicly, really thank you for the good staff and people. In my 4 years of working here, they exceed our expectations. I really mean that. Their helpfulness and just the way they all are is just really a pleasure to work with your people, and I congratulate you on the nice, good staff, professionalism, and respect that they all show on every situation that we have. And sometimes all of us are not the easiest people to deal with, but they do a great job.
Well, I sure appreciate that, and I'm very fortunate. We have a tremendous group of very good county employees in the civil division, the criminal division, the juvenile division, our victim witness, who really go the extra mile. And I think they really believe in public service and working for the people, and that's why they're here, and it's nice to hear that. But they really believe in that. So.
Say, Don, if I could add my 2 cents, I told Teresa this morning that how much I appreciate the work that she does and how she serves us. And again, I totally agree with PJ on what he just said. And Teresa is a real standout, so thank you for her.
Sure. And is he still not here? So you can keep talking about how our office can. Anybody else?
However, we are thinking of cutting your budget by 10% next year. I wanted to kind of give you a good compliment first.
I appreciate those kind words, and thank you. Is he here?
I think he's coming.
Here he comes.
Did we all clap when he enters? There he is.
Just an example of how hard, he works.
Yeah.
So he was up there. Was it a crossword puzzle that? No, I'm kidding. I just wanted to say a few words about Bernie. He's being recognized this morning for all of his work, and now he's going into retirement. But, he has represented the people of Douglas County in an enthusiastic, effective, efficient, and I'd like to say a very ethical manner in the way he handles his job. He's one of those people who's a model employee, a model attorney. He quietly does his job. He has a tremendous amount of respect in the legal community from his colleagues. If you talk to any lawyer here in Omaha and Douglas County or in the eastern part of Nebraska, they will tell you that Bernie Mambo Cat's reputation is excellent with the way he treats people, his knowledge of the law, his recognition of the issues, and the way he handles himself, both in and outside the courtroom. He has been a tremendous mentor to the younger attorneys in our office. He has been a leader in that respect and taught them very well, and I'm so appreciative of him. Somebody else should be recognized here today, too. His wife, Wendy, is here. Wendy, where are you? There she is. She was up and back earlier, and I talked a little bit to Wendy this morning, Bernie, and she has very high expectations.
Good.
In retirement, starting in the kitchen. But all I can say is he has been a tremendous asset to Douglas County, and we will surely miss him. So congratulations, Bernie.
Thanks, John.
I get a picture here with my buddy.
Okay. And there's been a resolution that's been passed. Has it been passed?
No, we'll pass it after.
Okay, the resolution before the county board, the Board of County Commissioners, Douglas County, Nebraska, resolved, whereas Douglas County, Nebraska recognizes that its employees are the county's most important asset and resource for providing quality service to the citizens of Douglas County. Whereas the county wishes to recognize Mr. Bernard Montboquet of the Douglas County Attorney's Office on his retirement and for his dedicated service of 16 years to Douglas County, Nebraska. Now therefore be it resolved by this Board of County Commissioners, Douglas County, Nebraska, that the county recognizes Mr. Bernard Montboquet for his dedicated service to the citizens of Douglas County and thankfully presents this resolution as testimony thereof, dated this 3rd day of February 2015.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
You know, I have to say, Bernie, Don really said a couple of words that struck me, and your mild demeanor, but I can tell you that when Bernie needs to be a professional bulldog, he's a professional bulldog, and we appreciate your service very much. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, please vote. And then, Bernie, you can say a few words.
Well, thank you. Is the projector on? I know you're very busy, and I did want to share this with you, and there we go. And I know you're very busy, but the fact that I'm leaving this job, it's a different kind of job in Douglas County, because for the almost 17 years that I've been employed by Douglas County, you have been my clients and the other elected officials, and everything I have done as your representative. And I considered that recently and thought that I might, with your indulgence, take just a couple of minutes to comment on that and the relationships that I've had with all of you and now Mr. Kavanaugh and your predecessor, commissioners. But I'd like to thank my friend Lee Lejour and my boss Don Klein for their comments, and you've met my wife Wendy, whom I'm pleased to introduce. For these, well, it's been 16 years almost to the day that I came back. I did work here for almost a year in 1992, and I don't know if it was foolish to leave the first time. I did gain a lot of professional experience that I wouldn't have otherwise had, but at least I had the good fortune to come back to Douglas County employment. I have represented you, Douglas County, and the elected officials in the following courts and commissions: the Douglas County Courts and the Douglas County District Courts, the Nebraska Court of Appeals and the Nebraska Supreme Court, the United States District Court and the 8th Federal Circuit Court of Appeals, the Nebraska Workers' Compensation Court, the Tax Equalization Review Commission, the Region 6 Board of Mental Health, the Nebraska Equal Opportunity Commission, the Douglas County Civil Service Commission, and the Sheriff's Merit Commission. I have represented and regularly attended meetings of the Douglas County Planning Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Douglas County Health Center, the Douglas County Board of Health, the Pension Committee, the Land Reutilization Commission, and the County Fair Board when it existed. I think I've represented every elected official in most county departments. It has been my distinct pleasure and honor to represent you and the county, and to assist in the governance of Douglas County. And I want to thank all of you, each of you, and your predecessors. When the fact of my being rehired in February 1999 came up for resolution, I wasn't sure how much cooperation I would receive at that time. As you can see, not all commissioners thought my hiring should be approved.
We voted for you anyway.
And I'm pleased to see that the motion to approve my hiring was made by Commissioner Duda and was seconded by Commissioner Borgeson, and it was voted in the affirmative by Commissioner Boyle. And,
Yes.
I was hoping for a unanimous vote at that time, but I am grateful for your cooperation and respect in all the years that followed. I want to thank the county attorneys who gave me initially the chance to be a deputy county attorney and then retained me in office, starting with Jim Jansen when he was elected in 1990. And then I was retained by Stu Dornan and by Don Klein. And these are all fine lawyers, excellent trial lawyers, and fine people. And they've been good mentors to me, and I appreciate all their support. I want to thank the many administrators and providers of county services, many of whom are here today. And I look around, and my friends in the back row, Kathy and Jan, Kathy Kelly, Patrick Bloomingdale, Steve Walker, Joe Lorenz, John Taylor, and Mr. LeJour, and in the many elected officials and department heads and their deputies and staff with whom I've worked. I've had nothing but cooperation and the respect of taking my advice. I want to thank all my associates in the Civil Division of the County Attorney's Office, past and present, and those folks who were my bosses in the Civil Division, beginning with the late Rennie Edmonds, followed in chronological order by Christine Lustgarten, Kim Havacotty, Diane Carlson, and your current lawyer, Teresa York. And it's not surprising that the administration is led by former deputy county attorneys, and I've always thought we've been in good hands. I thank all of them for their encouragement, advice, patience, and fellowship. I'm also grateful for their good counsel and the esprit de corps that we have enjoyed in the Civil Division. I'd like to publicly express to my wife, Wendy, my appreciation for her support and understanding during all those times when I was engaged in a trial or writing an appellate brief and became a little feisty at home. Sorry, dear, but it's almost over. And lastly, and most importantly, thank you for providing a compensation package, which has allowed me and my family to enjoy the good life in Nebraska. I appreciate especially the benefits and a retirement pension. Take good care of that pension fund. With that, I thank you very much.
Oh, that's great.
You want to come forward, Bernie?
Say, Wendy, you come on through too. You're part of the team.
Thank you, Brian.
Hey, Bernie, good luck, buddy. Thanks for your good work on the pension board.
Enjoy.
Hey, Wendy, enjoy yourselves.
Thank you. It's been a long time.
That's right, we've been doing voiceovers.
Thank you. I'm going to try hard to sign.
Thanks a lot, Bernie.
Thanks, Bernie.
Try.
All right, with that, we will move to citizen comments. Is there anyone in the chamber wishing to speak to the Board of Commissioners about an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to committees, the first being the Finance. Commissioner Morgan or Kavanaugh, do you have anything besides the budget report?
No, as presented.
All right. Next is child and youth, discussion/action on whether to renew guardian ad litem contracts. Mr. Bloomingdale, do you want to give us a synopsis of what we're doing here?
So the county has contracts with Thomas and Contro LLC and Monahan Attorney Coalition to provide guardian ad litem services in the juvenile court. Both of those contracts expire at the end of June. Both contracts have a clause in them that says if basically if either party wants to give notice of its intent not to renew, they have to do so 120 days in advance of the expiration. So that would be March 1st. If the county board desires to renew the contracts, no action needs to be taken today. If the county board desires not to renew the contracts, action needs to be taken to that effect either today or next Tuesday, February 10th, because there are no more county board meetings in February after the 10th.
Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item?
Yes.
Commissioner Duda?
I don't mean to cut anybody off. I personally will be hoping that we take action on this next week if we're going to. Because of our breakfast with the state senators next Monday, we'll have opportunity. I'd be real curious to bounce this off of a few of our local state senators to get their feedback. And I personally would prefer waiting until next week to take any action that we're going to on this. Doesn't mean no discussion by any means. It's just where I'm coming from.
No,
Thank
and
you.
I was going to ask that as well because Commissioner Rogers, while I forgot to say at the beginning, he asked to be excused for this meeting as he's in Washington on business, but he too would like to be present, so we'll put it on for next week. Good morning.
Good morning to all of you. My name is Sally Kaplan. I'm a clinical social worker in Omaha. I've been working in this field and as a child advocate for 35 years. I just came to speak in favor of asking you to renew Tom and Contro's contract. I worked at Child Saving Institute for over 20 years. I'm on the Douglas County treatment team that reviews problematic cases in the system. I was a forensic interviewer at Project Harmony, and now I'm a therapist at Jewish Family Service. In all of those capacities, I've had the opportunity to work with Tom over, I think, the 10 years that he's been a guardian ad litem, and also with some of his other attorneys. I will tell you that he's the most committed, best prepared guardian ad litem I've ever worked with. It's hard to be a guardian ad litem. There's lots of extra meetings. You don't just show up in court. Tom and his team show up at every meeting. They advocate for the children they represent. They're prepared and they know the children. They see them often. And we don't see that with many other guardians ad litem. I was thinking about what to say about Tom, and the best thing I can say about him is that if one of my children needed representation in court, I would want Tom and Contro to represent them, and I think our state wards deserve nothing less. Thank you very much.
Could you spell your last name again?
Sure. Kaplan.
Kaplan. Okay,
Kaplan.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Jackie Simmons, and I work for Project Harmony, which is the Child Advocacy Center here in town. I've been the case coordinator for the 1184 multidisciplinary teams there for the last 8 years. Prior to that, I worked for Health and Human Services as a CPS worker, most of the time in Douglas County, some in Sarpy, for 25 years. And I have to say that I've seen lots of guardians ad litem come and go over the years. I've seen the whole thing be handled different ways, and I've never seen the advocacy that we do now with Encontro's group. I can't say that for all of the contracts, but I know that because Tom is very passionate about what he does for these children and representing them, he also makes sure that everybody in his office does the same. He hires that way, he trains that way, and he supports them that way. For his new attorneys, we see him with them, visiting children, coming to our meetings, and just to echo what Sally says, we've never seen anything like that. there for the children, they see the children often, they write reports, they advocate for them. It's continual. And I'm here to represent the entire Project Harmony. Our children's services staff echoes the same thing. It isn't often that kids who are already in care have to come in for forensic interviews, but it does happen. And Tom and his group, they make sure that they're present for those things as well. Our medical staff would say the same thing. We all support Tom, and we think it would be a tragedy for the children of Douglas County if that contract wasn't continued.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Vicki Payton. I'm a licensed independent mental health practitioner and a social worker. And I've been working in the field of child welfare for the past 37 years. Over the past 14 years, I've been very involved with the RSAFE program, which is a program specifically working with families affected by child sexual abuse. So I would echo everything that Sally and Jackie said before me, but in addition to that, because of my expertise in working with families impacted by sexual abuse, I have to say that because sexual abuse is grounded in shame and secrecy, it's a very complex issue. So when we're working with children in the system who need a guardian ad litem, they need someone who really understands those complex issues. And I've always been able to count on Tom Incontro and his colleagues to be able to represent children in the way that they need to be. He attends meetings, he collaborates with teams. I'm recalling a meeting just a couple of weeks ago where we were working with an adolescent boy who had sexually abused a sibling, and he brought the new guardian ad litem in his practice to come to that meeting to have an appreciation of how you have to be part of that team process in order to represent children in the way that they deserve. So I'm hoping that Tom is around doing his guardian ad litem practice for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good morning.
My name is Barb Shoemaker, and I'm a CASA, so I come to this a little bit differently than everybody else. I've worked with Tom specifically on one case for 7 years, so I have a lot of material to work with. I've seen him. And I was trying to boil everything down to make it concise enough, so I've come up with 4 topics to discuss with the one case that we had. He developed relationships. He worked as a team member. He was an advocate and legal counsel both. He did a really good job at that and dedicated to what he does. And how he developed a relationship with her is he spent a lot of time with her, and the thing that really impressed me was how he kept up with whatever age she was, he kept up with what's going on in the culture at that time so he could relate to her, and he listened to her. He was compassionate, and he also advised her. I was just with her yesterday, and I was asking her, when he told you things that you didn't want to hear, did he come across angry, or did he come across like, this is what you're going to do? And she said, no, he was always so gentle in explaining the things that needed to be done and legally why it needed to be done that way. And she always listened to him. There was a time I remember when she was going through adoption, which this one was breaking apart, and I got an email from the foster or the adoptive mom in the morning that she was cutting. And so I sent that email on to Tom and went out to find her. And long story short, I found her, and Tom contacted me, and we got together with her because we were afraid that she was going to need to go to the hospital. Came into his office and spent 3 hours with her, and she showed him that she had not been cutting, showed her wrists, and she told me yesterday that was because she trusted him. And it takes a lot for a youth to trust an adult. And for him to be able to build that rapport with her, I think says a lot, a very big a lot. Because I have it a lot easier. I'm a volunteer, so she appreciates me because I'm not paid. So it's easier for me to establish a relationship, plus I'm in the trenches with her all the time. The other thing I want to talk about is, as a team, he's very involved on the team. He came to team meetings. If he wasn't there, he asked what happened at the meetings. He stayed on top of the case. And as a CASA and a guardian ad litem, I felt that we worked in tandem. As a guardian ad litem and a CASA is supposed to work. He appreciated the information that I had, the opinions that I had. Sometimes we didn't see eye to eye, but he explained his differences and respectfully. And I sometimes had to learn a little bit of the law along the way, and just just say, okay, I guess that's the way it's going to have to be. So I felt like we worked really well together. He returned emails, he returned phone calls, he was available on nights and weekends, because when you're working with these youth, nothing happens during business hours. Nothing happens unless it's a holiday or a weekend or late at night, and he was always available. I could always text him, email him, something so that he would get involved with what was going on. He was excellent at being an advocate and legal counsel at the same time. He was professional yet empathetic. He looked out for her future, which really impressed me, thinking ahead. And he worked independently enough as legal counsel, but also interdependently as a team member, which is a really hard thing to do. She had one story, she had ran away. She was gone for like a week, and we couldn't find her. And of course, on Friday night, 4 o'clock, I get a call from BioMom that she has contacted her on Facebook. What should she do? So I contacted Tom, and Tom took over for the whole weekend, making sure that where she was going, making sure that she was physically safe, making sure that she got the tests that were needed to make sure while she was on the run that she wasn't hurt, cut, on drugs. And then also went down there to Lincoln, that's where she was at, and went down to Lincoln personally himself to look her in the eye, look her mom in the eye, and make sure that this was a placement that they both wanted. And that, to me, was over the top and very, very impressive. He's very dedicated to being a guardian ad litem. I'm just about finished. But he's very dedicated, and I just want to say that to not use his expertise that he has, and to not use the dedication, the knowledge that he has would be a shame for these youth. And I hope that you would retain him as a guardian ad litem for the county of Douglas County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Again, we'll have this on the agenda again next week for action. That doesn't mean you all have to come back next week. You're more than welcome to come back next week, but we just want to make sure that you didn't think you had to come twice. We have your testimony noted. Thank you for being here. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Laura McCormick, 7414 Valley. I guess, could I just put this on, for a minute? This is a copy of the preliminary agenda. As you know, I'm a person that regularly attends these meetings, and I'm very interested in the issue. There are a lot of other people in the community, including other attorneys, who are interested in this issue. I came up to the county offices and got a copy of this agenda at the comptroller's office on Friday afternoon. This is a copy of the agenda for today, which shows this listed as an item. And, you know, I don't know the law. Ms. Urich, Mr. Bloomingdale, you're a lawyer, Ms. Carlson. I'm sure that this is all within the letter of the law. I certainly don't think it's good for public discourse on a very important issue, and I would respectfully ask that next week I'm happy to make a presentation, and I would like to make a presentation on this issue. With $1 million, let's talk reality. $1 million is on the line. So I guess we really shouldn't be surprised that Mr. Encontro and Ms. Monahan are here avidly trying to protect their relationship with the county. As we all know, there's been no competitive bidding on this contract. I personally think it would be outrageous if we just rubber stamp another however many years, decade? Let's make it 50 years. I don't know. In any event, I have some certain particular questions. Mr. Bloomingdale, I was at a Child and Youth Services meeting with you where we were discussing the fact that no ethical opinion has been requested. And I believe Ms. Monahan is hiding behind the ethical opinions as the reason why she cannot comply with the contract, which has very specific language in it that relates to the right to audit clause. And you informed me that you would request that she request an ethical opinion. Has that occurred?
If the commissioners would like me to answer that question, I will do so.
Yeah, you can, because it's been completed.
Okay, not only did Ms. Monahan request a legal opinion, I requested an opinion as well. Ms. Monahan's opinion was very detailed. She has not received a response yet. What she did was she filed a brief. You're required, when you submit a request for an ethics opinion, you have to file with it a supporting brief outlining and supporting your position on the matter, which she did. I sent a request in to the Council on Discipline, and he sent me back an email saying that you can't just submit the request. You have to submit a very detailed brief supporting your position, very time-consuming. I chose not to do that, considering Ms. Monahan had already done it, and she's still awaiting that opinion.
And is it factual that as a member of the public, I have no ability, since I am not a practicing lawyer, to request an ethics opinion? Is that correct? I believe that's correct.
I don't know the answer to that.
I guess I'm dumbfounded that we would rely on our vendor that we have major issues with, billing issues. She's writing the brief that's going to reflect the county's position. That's astonishing, particularly given we have an entire staff, an army of lawyers. But I will continue. The proposed legislation has no complaint mechanism, either of the bills proposed by both Christ and Campbell. I think that's a serious problem. Anecdotal stories about cases are interesting and nice, and I could provide you some anecdotal instances in which both in Contro and Monahan, I'm hearing from children, from parents who are recounting that they did not have contact with these attorneys. So let's put those anecdotal stories aside and let's focus on the facts, as in the facts outlined by Pachal, the facts outlined by Foley, and let's talk about way back in 2006 when the contractual relationship was extended between these two vendors. There was a county commissioner named Kathleen McAllister, I think that's her name, is that right? And there was extensive conversation on the record about the right to audit clause, about why it was there, about their willingness to, in fact, comply with the contract. And so I'm at a loss to understand why we're here in 2015 and the documentation that State Auditor Foley requested, proving contact with children, it's still never been supplied to the auditor. And I have had subsequent discussions with staff in the auditor's office. It is my understanding that very few, as in less than 1/10% of the exceptions, had any sort of subsequent documentation to provide to the auditor. So I guess the question I would pose to you is, if an audit report were produced and a stack of exceptions were noted, and you were confident that you had in fact done your job, wouldn't you then submit all of the material to the state auditor? I don't know why you wouldn't do that, especially given the fact that back in 2006, you stood before this very body and stated that you had no problem with the right to audit clause. And I do have all of that information and material in a form that can be given to you. So has the juvenile bench provided any sort of an opinion about these contracts?
No.
They have provided no...
Oh, yes, they did. They wrote a letter saying that they did not support contracting.
Okay, so...
But I'm going to have...
I know, I need to step aside, and I'm more than happy to do so. I appreciate your patience. I would politely ask, though, for the right to make a presentation to the board next week on the record with all of my outstanding issues.
Yes,
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. Anyone else wishing to speak on this issue?
Good morning. My name is Tom Incontro. I really didn't have anything prepared or planned. I wanted to make sure that I thanked the people that came here that spoke on my behalf. These people are leaders in child welfare in Douglas County. They're experienced, they're educated, they're the ones that are in the trenches working every day with youth, and for them to come and give 2 hours or an hour of their time on a Tuesday morning is asking a lot, so I really appreciate each and every one of them. A couple of nice things that were said about me, I guess I need to maybe come clean a little bit. As far as knowing the culture of youth, so when you have a 15-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 20-year-old, it's kind of easier to know maybe the music or what they're saying to some extent. I am losing out now with the younger kids as my kids get older, so I will do what I can to maybe watch more Nickelodeon or something. And then as far as taking the time out to see a child on a Sunday in Lincoln, that's not incredibly unusual for me. I drove to Wichita 2 days ago to see kids in that weather, so that is not unusual. However, the Lincoln visit that was mentioned, it just so happened my youngest daughter was in a softball tournament in Lincoln, so between games I was able to go over and talk to the youth. So it wasn't that magnanimous of me to do that since I was in Lincoln, but it is a very difficult job. I always try to figure out how to say this about my office and try to communicate to board members what I think I do and what we try to do. And then I come here and I hear one of the grown-ups, I think, say it better than anybody when Jackie Simmons says that the work we do, it's how I hire, it's how I train, and it's how I support the attorneys in my office. And I wish I had thought of that on my own, but that is exactly kind of what drives us. I think we do hire well, we support, we train, and we try to make sure that everybody does their job and are accountable to me and to the judges, and I'm just very proud of the work that we do. I would like to see this relationship continue. I would hope that I'm able to do this kind of work in the future, and I would just ask that you give every consideration to that.
Thank you, Tom.
Good morning. Maureen Monahan. My office is 1904 Farnham Street, Suite 623, Omaha, Nebraska. I just wanted to say some nice things about Tom. No, I'm kidding. I actually don't. I didn't ask anyone to come and speak on my behalf. I think the body of work over the past 13 years, and actually I worked as a guardian ad litem at Legal Aid for 2 years prior to that. I wouldn't, and no one in my group would get appointed by the judges, and no one in Mr. Encontra's group would be appointed by the judges, regardless of contract, if we were not doing what the judges thought were the duties of the guardian ad litem. The judges do have the right to appoint outside of the contracts, and they often do, for a multitude of reasons. And I would say that guardians ad litem, whether under contract or appointed on an hourly basis, do a lot more than what perhaps Mr. Foley was looking at or anybody else is looking at. We all do weekend visits because kids have a tendency to have to go to school and then daycare, and it might be 7 or 8 o'clock before you can go to that foster home or the parental home, and that's their bedtime. You're not going to go then. So we all do that, every single one of us. It's part of the job. I've been all over this country to see kids, so have other people in my group. I have attended numerous graduations from high school where I'm the only one there for that kid. I've been a confirmation sponsor for a child who was adopted. I've written numerous letters of recommendation for college, professional school, you name it. And I said I know Mr. Encontra's group, and I certainly know the other guardians ad litem do too. The most important thing is that we are lawyers, and we are bound by the rules of ethical conduct. I requested the ethics opinion because it's my bar license on the line. So it is not whether you can do it. You can ask anything you want. It's whether, as an attorney in my professional judgment, I can do that. And if the ethics opinion comes back and says no, then I can't. Right now we have an ethics opinion that says guardians ad litem cannot talk about a case at all outside of the case at hand. If I'm up in court, I can talk to the parties in that context. Certainly can talk to case professionals, therapists, et cetera, anybody connected to the case. As a third-party payer, I right now cannot talk about any specific case. So anybody can stand up here and say anything they want, and I cannot bring any evidence or any subject up to counter that, as any lawyer is prohibited by ethics. I do want you to know, I know there are a couple of bills before the legislature. The State Bar Association voted to oppose them because they would regulate attorneys. They set out duties as guardians ad litem that only the courts, through the 3 branches of government, only the judiciary branch can regulate lawyers and tell them what their duties are. And the State Bar Association also came to the conclusion that the existing statutes are unconstitutional as well. The legislature cannot tell the judiciary what the officers of the court should do. And so therefore, really, any performance audit that fully attempted has no meaning. Thank you for your time.
Okay, with that, again, we will have this on our agenda for next week as well. Next is the Health and Human Services. There's one agenda item, approval of the Veterans Service Committee's recommendation to hire Alan Jackson as the Douglas County Veterans Service Officer.
Second.
And if you want to come forward and...
May I speak on his way down?
Yeah.
Just to say the committee did not meet. This the Health and Human Services Committee. This had already gone through the Veterans Service Committee. It didn't seem like there was much point in having another step along the way to rubber stamp. We also have Dr. Stephen Youngberg present from the Veterans Service Committee.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Dr. Stephen Youngberg, we recommend Alan for the position of the service officer. Speak, Alan.
Alan Jackson, Veterans Office. This is a position that really I'm surprised ever being the opportunity of fulfilling it. I'd like to thank Dr. Steve and the Veterans Committee for offering me a position and allowing me to honor the veterans and their families of Douglas County. Once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Steve for that.
We appreciate your willingness to serve, and it's important on what you do for our veterans, so thank you.
Thank you.
Move for the approval.
Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Mr. Jackson,
Yes, sir.
I have many family and close friends who are veterans, and so when your name came up, I made an effort to contact them, and several of them are directors of local veterans associations. I just want to say that you came back with sterling recommendations by all of them, and I'm glad to see that you're willing to serve in this capacity. Thank you.
Thank you.
There was a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being
Thank you
here
very
today.
much.
Next is the Human Resources. The first agenda item is the weekly personnel report from Civil Service. That is as presented unless anyone has any questions or comments. Next is the weekly CAO report on staff assaults.
Nothing to report.
Next is legislative issues, the first being a resolution supporting Legislative Bill 577, which would amend Statute 23-187 relating to counties to permit counties to regulate the conduct of peddlers, hawkers, and solicitors on public or private property. And this is assigned to the Government, Military, Veterans, and Affairs Committee, and the hearing is to be announced, but this is one that the Tri-County all took a position on, and I would ask for a motion to support that.
I make the motion to approve. Second. To support.
Commissioner Boyle?
I was just going to make a remark about something else, about the reports from the Kellys.
Okay.
So I'll hold off.
Okay. Please vote. Speaking of the report, you have it in your packet, but items to note, and Mr. Kelly is here and maybe he's heard, the marriage license fee that we took a position on to support increasing it from $15 to $50. There was a compromise being that maybe they would go for $35. We did have enough votes for cloture. They passed over it yesterday. Today now they're talking about possibly $25, and then it did pass. Okay, great. Well, great, yes, kind of, sort of, but again, it was lots and lots of debate, but it is increased from the 15 to the 25. LB 12 to suspend the medical assistance, the Medicaid, rather than terminate it, was heard, and the hearing went very well on that. I think there was a lot of interest in potentially doing that, and of course one of the provisions with the ACA is goes back to the issue about when an inmate goes out of the facility, you can, for more than 24 hours, you can capture that payment from the Medicaid, but you need the Medicaid suspended rather than terminated. So I think they were receptive to the idea. LB 427, which was the cost being turned back over to the state for probation office cost, and the LB 61 on health and human services cost. They were more receptive on the probation offices than they were on the HHS offices, and there was lots and lots of keep coming back to this 1980 agreement that when the state took back the welfare and the Medicaid, that we as counties agreed that we would fulfill that compromise or that partnership by paying for that space, and they want that to stay in place. So not real sure about that one, but we'll keep working on it. And then LB 543, which is one of ours for the community paramedics. There was some discussion with the senator's office and the home medics who brought that to us about some amendments to the current bill. Nothing big. Basically, there was a section in there that was modeled after Minnesota's for a certification process that isn't needed because the statute was basically changed 2 years ago to allow them to provide the services to which they provide if this were to pass. This, again, was more of a mechanism for them to be able to get paid for what they would be providing if it passes. And so with that, Commissioner Boyle, did you have one other one you wanted to talk about?
I only want to speak in general about the quality of the report that comes from the Kelly firm. It's really very informative, and working with Marcos San Martin has really been a real bonus. So I'm really happy with the information that we're getting from the Kelly firm, and also with the quality of work that Marcos is putting into it, and I just wanted to say that.
Absolutely. And then one other thing, we did meet as the NACO Legislative Committee, which the full NACO board sits as well as very good attendance from other personnel and elected officials from counties across the state, met, and we went through the series of bills that NACO would be interested in taking a position on, and we went through all of those. I'll have Marcos send that out when I get the updated spreadsheet of what action we did take. But it was a full day and a good day, though. And we also had a reception the night before, which was attended very well by the senators, who were very appreciative of us taking the time to want to meet with them. Lots of freshman senators came. But it was nice to get to know them and put a face to a name. So that went well down at NACO.
Do you suppose we could change our pre-dawn breakfast to an evening? Never mind.
We can start out the night before, Commissioner Boyle.
Great.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Laura McCormick, 7414 Valley. My question is, how long has the county had the relationship with the Kelly firm in the lobbying activities? How long has that relationship been in existence? Has there ever been an RFP for this? Because we live in a town where there are thousands of lawyers, and I assume lots of them are lobbyists or interested in lobbying. And I guess for that matter, why do we need to hire an outside company to do lobbying? There's no employee that works for Douglas County that can do lobbying? Because I think in Sarpy County there's a man, oh gosh, I can't think of his name.
Fred Huey.
Yes, that works for the county, and then he part-time goes and lobbies. And then we also have this NACO. How much does that all cost with all that lobbying? It just seems like if we're going to have these lobbying contracts, that we should be getting requests for proposals, because this sort of seems reminiscent of the deals, the heavy emphasis on deal that Monahan and Encontro have. So, I mean, I don't know Mr. Kelly. I believe you that he's a charming individual. I have nothing against him. I'm just asking, why wouldn't we open this up to others who might be interested in this, or why wouldn't we use an employee of the county?
I can tell you, Laura, from the inside perspective of an employee doing it, you would have to hire a full-time person to do that full-time, as much as that goes on down in the legislative. I mean, standing in the rotunda, things move real fast, and you have to make some pretty hard and tough and fast decisions. And it's good to have someone that's there all the time doing that. I mean, there's constant conversation with people back here, but it is definitely worth the taxpayers' money to pay that, because they have been able to not only protect some of the dollars that we have in terms of tax dollars, but they have also been able to lobby on our behalf to bring in more tax dollars for us. And good examples are some of them that we talked about today, where we're trying to get some of these unfunded mandates cleared away. So I personally have witnessed and watched and had the opportunity to work very closely with them down there, and they are very well respected, and they do, and what they do for the county is very much worth the dollars that we put out, and the partnership that we have with them, and now with our new person, Marcos. But it is an ongoing, fast-moving thing that we really do have to have somebody down there on our behalf all the time. Commissioner Boyle?
Laura, I'll add my perspective. The city does have a full-time lobbyist, and I'm sure he's very capable. But I will tell you that his salary exceeds $100,000 a year plus benefits. And I think the city is probably going to eventually move to contracted services as well, because when you have someone who is that is a lobbying firm that does this for a living, they represent other clients, and we receive benefits from that, because lobbyists who are professional lobbying firms, and there are several excellent ones, they have relationships with others, and so when they go out to Scottsbluff to visit a senator about an issue, their presence is there, and then when we need help as Douglas County, that Scottsbluff senator recognizes them, and they've had a relationship. It is all about relationships and trust, and their word is gold. They have a reputation of doing honest work. What they say is what they do, and the contents of the legislation are what they say it is, and that's really important. The other is that with this representation, and we're going to be considering the contract in a couple of minutes, but it is, in my estimation, very reasonable, and I'd say it's probably 15 to 20 years old. There was a time when we had a second lobbyist, excuse me, and I believe the second lobbyist was our primary lobbyist for quite a few years, someone that I've known for a long time, and a very, very fine fellow and capable, honest as well. But the Kelly firm brings a whole host of relationships, long-term. They get out and they meet candidates for office. I mean, they really work at it, and they perform very well in my estimation. As far as an RFP, in government, we're not required to do an RFP for professional services. If we hire an engineer or an architect or a lawyer or a lobbyist, it is, basically there are probably about 6 firms in Lincoln, in my estimation, that are excellent firms that would perform very well. But we're fortunate to have, and there's a couple other firms that are Omaha-based, have strong Omaha connections, but Mr. Kelly Mike Kelly is a former county commissioner, and he understands county government really well. So we're really fortunate to have that kind of of knowledge that he brings to the table, and his son Sean is very dedicated to it as well. The one thing I will correct you on is that Mike Kelly is not charming. No, he is. He does. I shouldn't joke about that. He is a great guy, and I've known him for many years. But they stay on top of the issues. And if you look at the reports, I didn't. I look at these reports, and they're so well written, so clear, and they're timely. They're up to date. We get emails from them. We get phone calls from them. And I'm sure we would have the similar services from a Lincoln firm, but I think these people deserve to continue, we deserve to continue to have their services and the reputation they've built up. So I'm very much in favor of what they do. I've seen it firsthand. So that's what I'll say about them.
With that, if there isn't any other legislation that anyone would like to speak on the,
I did have my light on. I'm not sure it didn't come up,
Nope.
but I wanted to mention, as a former state senator and working with lobbyists when I was in the legislature, and now meeting with the Kelly people individually, always each year several times, and going through some of the legislation that they do, I almost hate to say it, but their price is most fair in my opinion, much fairer than some others certainly would be. Plus, I think the respect that Mike Kelly has and now Sean Kelly has, and I've talked to senators individually about this in the last 4 years, I just really am very, very supportive of them. And it's not because they're Republicans, because they're Democrats, and I happen to be a Republican. So, I'm not speaking for that reason at all. I just really respect the job that they do and feel it's the right thing to do to have them definitely there. And when Mike Boyle said about that he's not charming, I think there's definitely a similarity with Commissioner Boyle and Mike Kelly. So I think I could get some votes on that from Claire.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, seriously, I just really respect the job that they do, and this Sean Kelly has really been amazingly respected down there and does a diligent job each and every day. So that's all I want to add.
thank you. With that, again, no other legislation. We'll move to the next item, item 4, resolution approving the contract with Kelly and Durham for lobbying services.
So move.
Second.
Commissioner Kraft?
I was going to make the motion since the discussion had already taken.
Please, Commissioner Kavanaugh.
I just want to comment, having reviewed this contract and knowing Mike Kelly for a long, long time, I find it very reasonable. I share Commissioner Morgan's sentiments relative to we're getting an excellent service at a very, very reasonable price. And Mike does a super job representing us in Lincoln. I've seen it up close and personal for many years, highly regarded universally among senators in the legislature, and we're getting, I think, an excellent bargain in terms of lobbying services under this contract, and I recommend that we approve it.
There has been a motion and a second. Please vote. Next is item 5, resolution adopting a policy related to the dependent eligibility verification audit performed by Aon. Ms. Carlson? Did you have anything you wanted to?
Sure, I can just give you a few background points. The county board entered into a contract with Aon Hewitt to conduct the dependent eligibility audit. It's scheduled to begin March 2nd, And what's before you today is a policy for HR to follow in the event that the audit shows that a participant is not eligible. And there's also before you a couple of notices or alerts that have been developed that will be sent out to department heads and elected officials for them to distribute to their employees, just alerting the employees to the fact that this is going to occur, that the audit will be happening. And Aon Hewitt, when they begin their audit in March, will be sending out a lot of notices in the mail to employees with more detailed information on what is expected as far as the types of documents that need to be sent in.
Thank you. I think you did an excellent job on putting the pieces together that we needed to for this. So I'm very impressed with all of this. Commissioner Boyle?
Yes, I'd like to, first of all, suggest that the information really be in abbreviated form, that it not be verbose. You know, a couple, 2-3 bullets about what it is that's expected. The reason I say that is that I just received a credit card in the mail from American Express, and they attached, it's a big premium kind of a thing they're offering me, and it's information is in small print, and it's 18 pages. And I mean, I did try to read it last night, and it occurred to me today that I sure hope we can keep this in plain English and make it clear about what it is we're trying to do. The other thing I'd like to respectfully suggest is that between points 3 and 4, where Aon will be notifying us of the employees who have not complied to the HR department, and then the next step is that HR will send a coverage termination letter. I'd like to see us be a little more polite. I'd like 3.5 that says you've got 5 days, or you've got 7 days to respond, and at the expiration of that, you will receive a letter terminating your coverage. So they get a last-ditch deal, so we don't have somebody coming in, and I don't know what might happen, but, and maybe that should be sent, registered, some sort of really definite information, because health insurance is so important. I don't know if that's in here or not. I didn't see it, but I would like to soften the blow rather than these are people that are part of the team, and I'd hate to see it go out and say, your coverage is revoked. I don't think we ought to do that. So, and I know there's a later effective date of termination, but I just think it's really hostile. I'd like 3.5 to warn them, you've got another 7 days to do this. That's my respectful suggestion.
I think that Commissioner Boyle, back in item 2, that addresses it, that if they don't comply, they're actually, when Aon sends that the coverage cancellation notice to those employees who did not, there will be a grace period of an additional 30 days for the employee to comply. So that's pretty much asking what you wanted.
Well, not exactly. First of all, I don't favor Aon. I think this is frankly a waste of money. But if you want to go with the corporate approach to it, so be it. But I'd like it to be a personal, nice touch to our employees and much more friendly. I don't like sending coverage cancellation notices and saying you've got, I just don't like sending the cancellation notice. I think I'd like to send a notice saying, we asked you for this and you've got another week to tell us who your dependents are. I think it's a friendlier approach, but whatever the board desires.
Yeah, just to clarify, after the grace period, Aon Hewitt will send the list of people who haven't complied to HR. So it will be HR, the county HR department, that will be then communicating with those employees. When they send out a letter, it will be to the effect of, you have so many days to contact us to get back, and the coverage would not terminate until the end of that month. So it will be, we figured it'd probably be about at least 14 days that the employee would have to get the information in. And if they were to contact, it's all going to be through Douglas County, so we'll have our HR people dealing with the employees, and it won't be Aon when it comes down to the end there where they're trying to make sure that they comply. So there will be some time there, and obviously there will be some working with the employees if they can contact HR and talk to them about that. We're not going to just cut coverage off if people still need more time to get documents in.
Madam Chair. Well, Ms. Carlson, that's not what item 2 says. It says that Ann Hewitt will send coverage cancellation notices to those employees who have not complied. And so we've got this outside firm writing to our employees who I thought we value. And now we're going to be sending them, having some outside agency, some contractor writing and saying, here's a coverage cancellation notice because you haven't complied. And then it does say a grace period of 30 days and so forth to comply, but that's not coming from us. That's coming from Aon, which I just think it's hostile. I would like to treat our employees with a little more respect.
Yeah, and the coverage cancel, the notice will say a date that they need to respond by, but the coverage would not be canceled until HR sends out the final notice.
Yeah, I understand that, but we're threatening to do it. We're having Aon threaten it. And I just don't think that's what we want to do with our employees, but I just don't like it. So that's my opinion. I don't like Aon doing this at all.
Any other discussion? If not, there is a motion. Was there a motion? No. So I need a motion to adopt the policy item 5.
Well, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Could I offer, well, I guess I'll wait till there's a motion if there is one, but I'd like to offer an amendment.
I will second it.
Commissioner Boyle?
I would like to offer a friendly amendment to add a 3.5 that after Aon forwards the names of employees who have not complied with the audit requirements to HR, that HR will send a warning letter, a friendly letter saying, reminding the employees that they have 7 days to respond, or they will receive a coverage termination letter. And I also would like to remove any contact that Aon has with our employees. I don't like that they're going to send us in item 2 a coverage cancellation notice. I don't like that at all. I'd like the HR to be doing this for contact with our employees, and I'd like to offer that 3.5 that puts HR in between those, what I view as hostile actions.
Commissioner Morgan?
Because Lee Leisure is here, if I could, and I don't want to impose on you, Lee, but I wouldn't mind having you just comment concerning Mike's request and your thoughts on
Sure,
this.
I personally share Commissioner Boyle's comments. They are good employees, and they mean well, and we do need to work with them to be able to provide the necessary documentation of their dependents, and I think we need to do it as professionally and politely as we can, and anything that we need to do to modify the process to make sure it is as friendly as possible. But when folks are not providing back what they're supposed to, we need to let them know and give them every opportunity. It's a difficult process for them because some of them have to find marriage licenses and birth certificates, and maybe they're from out of state, so we'll take some time. But there's always that need for encouragement that everyone has to do to be able to comply. And so we're, I think our total approach, along with the CAO's office, is to try to be as professional about it as we can, and realizing people have difficulty sometimes in getting this kind of material.
Lee, do you like the 7 days or 10 days or something?
I guess I'm pretty, I'm open to any kind of
that won't
fair
create
notice to people that, and if they need a little more time, I mean, whatever it takes to get it done, but you do have to have an endpoint, just like anything else. Our taxes are due on April 15th. Not much leeway with the government on that, but we're trying to be friendly to our employees to the extent that we give them plenty of time to respond back.
And you're okay with your department doing that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can I have clarification, though? If we're sending this out to the employees, so now another notice has to, so we'll be sending 2. We'll be sending this one that Commissioner Boyle is asking for, and that is after the grace period, the 30 days, it comes to you guys. Mm-hmm. You guys then as HR send out another notice saying it's going to be terminated in 7 days if you don't comply. Then you send another one saying that
Well,
it's terminated.
and that
if they
I don't know. I think we need to talk through that a little bit on that step, on that end step on it. Just I'm not sure the
Well, I just wanted clarification
the
from
timeline or the
Right.
progression there.
Commissioner Boyle?
Well, I don't want Aon contacting our people. Item 2, I asked that Aon will send coverage cancellation notices to those employees who have not complied, saying there'll be a grace period of additional 30 days for employees to comply. I would like that to be taken out and put into that 3.5. It says that where it will say that you have another 7 days to respond, sent out by HR, and that after 7 days, we say we're going to be sending out a cancellation notice to those employees who have not complied, and then we will go ahead and cancel the after a grace period of 30 days. It's the HR that's doing this, not Aon. If you follow me, I think you take out that item, that part 2 that has Aon involved, and substitute HR and put that in 3.5, and that can be included in this letter that goes out about telling them they have 7 days to reply, and if you don't, the coverage cancellation notice will be sent to you.
So if you take that out, Aon then, at that point in item 2, only sends the name of those employees that have not complied to HR.
Correct. And I frankly, I don't expect there'll be, I'd be surprised if there's more than 30 people, to tell you the truth. I would probably even lower.
So then the HR will send out the names who have not complied, or will send letters to the employees who have not complied, giving them an additional, what'd you say, 7 days?
7 days to respond.
And then they have to send out another one.
No. In that letter saying you've got 7 days to respond, and then you can say that if we don't hear back from you, we will be sending you a coverage termination.
That's what I mean. Then you have to send another one for coverage termination, right?
So does either us or Aon.
Well, could you write it that if we do not hear back from you within the 7 days, this will serve as notice that you will lose your coverage, and you're doing one mailing?
That's right. That's what I'm trying to get at.
That's what I'd like.
The way it was presented is that there would be 2 correspondence going out. So what I'm clarifying is that if we take item 2 out, we really don't need a 3.5. We just make 3, that at the end of that grace period, Aon forwards the name to the HR department, and the HR department sends a letter to the employees.
No. What I said was that they would, the HR will tell them if someone fails to respond.
Right.
HR sends the employee a letter saying you have 7 days to respond.
Right.
And if you don't respond in 7 days,
it's terminated.
It's terminated.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's one letter.
Right. I was just saying that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Clear as mud. Everybody's got it. Okay.
Just get
We'll make it work.
Do you get it, Diane? You don't get it.
Commissioners?
Okay, time out.
I do have a question. The part about HR sending the notice with the 7 days is perfectly fine. That's what they're planning to do. It's probably actually going to be more than 7 days, because they're going to get the list at the beginning of May. They're going to send out the notices saying you have till the end of the month. That was the plan, but we can certainly put a time frame in there. But going back to number 2, I think I have a solution for Aon Hewitt as well. In the information that they send out when an employee has not responded or hasn't sent the correct documentation in, Aon Hewitt is going to be sending letters, probably 2 or 3 before we even get to this point, saying that you need to respond by a certain date, or you may risk loss of coverage. Not cancellation. We can certainly make sure that that's what the documentation say. You will risk cancellation. And then when the names come to HR will be the one that would be corresponding saying, here's when you need to get it in by, or coverage will be terminated. And the reason that's important is they have their documents in place, and they do send out several notices, and I think that that's important that the employees continue to get those, because it's getting down to the end, and they'll need to start collecting their documents.
Okay. Well, I'm okay with that then.
So if you would like, I can even change some of the wording in there so that it says A and Hewitt will send coverage notices regarding a risk of cancellation or something along that.
Yeah.
Or
so
change that
that's
somehow.
bolded.
But I'd like to keep the grace period in there because that's,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Commissioner Morgan, were you finished?
Finished.
Commissioner Boyle?
Well, I still don't think that accomplishes it, with all due respect. I think, can we lay this over, and I'd be glad to participate in what I have in mind and see if you agree with it and whether the commissioners...
we can certainly lay it over,
That'd
yes.
be wonderful. Now,
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
I
Because it
appreciate
doesn't start until March 1st, right? But we'll, okay.
I appreciate that very much.
So do you think next week is okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect.
In the meantime, are you okay with us going ahead and posting signs that are just alerting employees that this is coming and sending out the document that's included in this package that talks about the fact that this is going to happen, but the policy itself we can tweak?
Well, I just don't want any threats sent out. I don't want any threats.
No. Right, they won't be.
Okay, well, I mean, that's what this is, it's a threat. And so I don't want any threats going to the employees. So a friendly notice saying this is coming, we're auditing insurance or whatever you want to say, but just don't say you could lose your coverage if you don't do what we tell you to do.
Right. Okay.
Don't care for that.
Okay.
So
Okay, thanks.
could you provide Commissioner Boyle or the board the letters that you send? That may be helpful.
Who are we talking to, me?
I'm talking to the Tracy. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see those for sure.
Commissioner Kraft?
Yes, this is, a lot of this is rehashing discussion we had at some HR meetings previously.
Right.
And we have Aon doing this for a very good reason. They can do it more efficiently and effectively and without the same pushback as we can do it. I don't know that anything needs to be changed. Yeah. We do have Tracy here from Aon. And Tracy, is there anything you wanted to add at this point?
Tracy Krause from Aon Risk Services. I'd be more than happy to provide all the letters in a timeline because I think things kind of get convoluted when we're talking about what's going out and when.
Thank you.
I would like to also say that Diane was very emphatic about changing the language in the letter, so it was not threatening. So the letter was actually changed to say you would risk dependents being dropped from coverage, but nothing ever about being terminated, because it was very clear that they wanted HR to handle that piece so your employees had that personal touch.
Well, the reason I raise it is that that's not what the policy says.
Okay.
It says Aon Hewitt will send coverage cancellation notices to those employees who have not complied.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's not exactly,
Sure.
Good morning, have a great day. It says your coverage is going to be canceled.
Right. And so maybe that policy needs amended, but the letters will state that they're never telling the members that
It's
it's
just not
canceled.
what it says.
Absolutely.
So I look forward to seeing the letters.
Yep.
And I
I'll
do
get you a
want to
letter and
say,
a timeline.
thank you, if I could, to Commissioner Borgerson, this is one of the requests that it kind of borders on something that I requested with the rules being changed. One of the things that I asked was that on all of these committee reports, we have this system that Commissioner Hutchings put in, where we have all these committees, and I can't attend all of them, unfortunately. So I try to attend everything I can, but I can't do all of them. And so as a result, I asked Commissioner Borgerson if on all of these these commissions, or whatever it is, the committees, that we have a little spot where you can touch it and get a summary from Mr. Esch, have it attached, so that if there's something that committee did that I might raise questions about, that I'm able to touch it and see what it is and bring it up at the meeting, because some of these meetings, I spoke out at one of the meetings at Human Relations opposing Aon and drove their price down, I think. But I'm not able, that's why I asked for that to be attached, and I don't mean to be redundant on I know it's been discussed and so forth, but I can't attend all of them, Mark. I can't.
No, and that request is going to be honored. I didn't realize you wanted us to go back and put them on, so I apologize. I was going to start putting them on from the committees forward, but...
Okay. I don't want to necessarily go back. I do want to, I just don't want to ask chairs and people who have spent their good time at these committees to then have me raise questions that, I feel awkward doing it, but I think it's part of my job. And again, if I could attend all the meetings, you'd certainly be delighted with me raising all those questions there, I know. But, and I apologize for bringing all this up and dragging, rehashing of meetings, but it would be useful. So if you want to put them on, like you said, we'll try it that way.
Yeah, definitely
Thanks.
we were going to do that, and
Okay.
so I just didn't do it
Thank you,
going
Tracy.
backwards. Okay, so do I have a motion to, Diane, did you have something else
I didn't see this policy until now.
on this?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
Well, I'd like to offer a substitute motion to lay it over for 1 week.
Yeah.
If we need it, do we need a
Yeah,
motion?
to lay over for 1 week. Please vote.
Is there a second?
Yeah, Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you. And I do hope that you'll vote to lay it over.
Well, Commissioner Boyle, let's just not have this happen again, please.
Okay, I promise. I promise. I'll try.
With that.
I'll try to behave.
With that,
I'll try.
We don't have need for executive session, but there is a Human Resources Committee immediately following this meeting, maybe like within 15 minutes, just for a break here. And then in room 903, and we'll be discussing discussion regarding whether to engage an RFP process for health insurance administrator. And then just a reminder that our state senator's breakfast is Monday, February 9th
At dawn.
at 8 a.m. at the state capitol in room 1023. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote.
Would you like a wake-up call next week, Mike?
Boy, how about on Monday afternoon, call me? Wake-up call.
Pull an all-nighter.
Yeah, an all-nighter.